Alright, so today I've got Sonic Free Hacked Cartridge. This is a blind creepypasta reading, meaning I haven't heard anything about this creepypasta before, aside from a few, skimmed parts of it, but I didn't have enough information to, really get a good picture of it. So, this creepypasta tells a tale of a person buying a Sonic Free cartridge to spend some quality time with his best friend. However, this cartridge seems to be hacked. Not only that, but the contents would lead to the protagonist towards a horrifying mystery, which would lead him down a fate he would have never expected. Let's begin. I'm gonna check out this picture real quick first. It appears that is Sally Acorn. Whether or not that's supposed to look like an actual game, I'm not sure. The tale. Before I tell you the story, let me clarify a few things. My friend and I are fans of Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, big enough to know a little more about the franchise than some of the more low-core fans, but not enough to own every single Sonic the Hedgehog related item and know every single tiny thing about it. For the most part, my friend and I read the comics. Have seen some of the shows and occasionally looked up some info on our favorite characters on several wikias on the web. Die Hard? No. Fans? Yes. Pardon me. My friend, however, grew up in one of those super strict religious households that wouldn't let him or any of his siblings play video games at all. My friend had to negotiate for hours just to look up a few Wikia articles on the computer or watch a few of the shows on the TV. Earthly things are the work of the devil himself, they said, cursing their own cell phones. But he could absolutely not play any of the games, not at his house anyway. Rather not while his parents were in his immediate space. The only time he got to experience the games was when he came over to my house after school or sometimes on the weekends when he wasn't being hauled to church or whatever other function his parents were a part of. We had a lot of fun when we did play games together. However, we never fully finished any games we played, Sonic related or otherwise. How it all happened. Said friend got accepted into some college in Europe some months ago thanks to some year-long insomnia-induced socialization, killing, studying, and he was, and I quote, feeling very nostalgic. He called me up one day as I was finishing some computer game and he was packing his stuff and preparing for his new adventures in Europe. This very talkative and easily excited friend talked my ear off and bugged me to death about getting together to play a certain Sonic game from our youth. His pestering and purposely calculated bush beating eventually made me cave, and we finally arranged a play date and decided on our game of choice. The game of choice we agreed on was Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. My friend saw me play this game once a long time ago, but he only saw mere seconds of it before having to go home. I remember his uncontrollable excitement as I zoomed through the stage as Hypersonic, bashing enemies to a poof with little to no effort, thanks to the glowing and shining double imagined sprite. My friend was dying to play it and complete it since the very moment he laid eyes on it. He wanted to do so with me before he went away for some 4+ years. I remember sighing to myself after we ended the call. I wouldn't have been bothered by any other Sonic game, but the thing is that I had played this game so many times as a child that just hearing its name drove me into a type of nostalgic insanity, like singing your favorite song over and over until you dread hearing its melodic patterns ever again. I knew this game's distinctive and long story. I knew this game's once cool tiny secrets. I got all the game's endings and, well, long story short, I knew this game inside and out. The thought of playing it again for the sake of nostalgia seemed like an absolute chore to me, but I agreed to it, and I would have to stick it through to the end for the sake of my friend. Life, nature, and irony struck after the day of the phone call. The week before the playdate was absolutely chaotic for whatever reason. Life threw random, unnecessary, and just plain weird shit at me every chance it could find. For example, a raven cracked my windshield, then proceeded to poop all over it. I woke up early and cranky on the day of our playdate and realized that I no longer had my Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic Free cartridges required to play Sonic Free and Knuckles. About several months ago, after what I had hoped to be my last and final playthrough of the game, my younger brothers decided it would be a great idea to fuck with their big sister and give both copies a bath. This left me with nothing but accurate memories of its completion, and now a very dusty interlocking cartridge that made Sonic 3 and Knuckles possible for the Sega Genesis. I I all but flew out of my bed, hurried into my Raven-phobic car, and drove thrift store to thrift store to find HT, HT, STH3, and SNK. It took half the day to find the copies of the game. Both were in two different stores with two different and very distant parts of the town. The prices for the games varied. S and K was $8 with minor scratches. The other, which was also slightly scratched, got haggled down to $10 and a coupon for a free copy from the shop I genuinely haunted before and after work. Both copies were, of course, used, and both of the guys who sold it to me said that the copies looked and worked fine. As skeptical as I was at their promises, I didn't really have time to check if what they were saying was true. I ran back to my car and rushed back to my apartment as soon as I had the keys in the ignition. In retrospect, that was the dumbest thing I could have done. My friend arrived not seconds after I walked back to my apartment. He made this apparent by knocking on my door, ringing my doorbell in a very rapid, continuous, and annoying fashion. He was so freaking excited about playing this game that he made kids at Disneyland look hopelessly bored, if not helplessly lethargic. He all but flew through the door like a too strong blizzard wind, and whilst bouncing endlessly, tugged me into the living room, his mouth yammering questions at the speed of light. I sighed and prepared for the evening by quickly dusting off my trooper of a Sega Genesis, interlocking S and K and S free to get S free and K, hooking up the system to the TV, and then finally turning on the game. The Sega logo and voice chorus popped up, followed by the 3D Sonic that had spun himself into the title screen. The little blue hedgehog shook his finger back and forth and winked whilst giving us a signature half smile while Tails flew in the background. In the tornado over the blue seas, blue skies, and blue mountains. My friend cooed as we came to the data select after the title screen, and picked up the new file with both Sonic and Tails striking a pose beneath the new box. I picked up the second controller, explained to my friend how I can be Tails, and then instructed him to begin the game. Also, my voice is a bit bad for the Seiko logo, and I apologize for that, but it's fine. As soon as the intro cutscene began, my eyes grew wide with irritation and disbelief. This was not the game I played repeatedly as a child. Tails and the tornado plane were completely absent. Sonic was already in his golden super form and flying on the water by himself, and the color scheme of the sky, clouds, and water were greenish instead of their rich blue color. The music was also different, not slow, not fast, but different, like a chiptune incorporated a remix. The intro also went much quicker than it originally did, as if someone fast-forwarded to the scene with Knuckles. Knuckles, instead of jumping from the ground and knocking Sonic backward, only stood still and faced the direction in which Sonic came. Sonic's animation did as it should when he bumped into Knuckles, flying backward and blinking before landing on the ground. Sonic, however, dropped no emeralds upon landing. Knuckles, after a beat, finally left the scene and gameplay began with the Angel Island Zone Act 1, displayed in its mega annoying font. I'd like to say that, before we continue, so far it seems good because, it doesn't have, the cliche, oh, everything's red and scary. Yet it seems, different. They're trying to do original stuff. I like that. Respect. I felt panic and anger crash through me like a hurricane. One or both of the games I purchased was hacked. Gently used, my honey-coated ass. I I just about to stand from the floor to get my cell phone before my very excited friend boomed again in excitement. I stopped myself and remembered that my friend had never had the joy of experiencing this game and would only have the chance that afternoon. Even as the game was hacked, this friend's excitement and ignorance kept me from ruining this precious time we had together. I sighed, put down my cell phone, and went back to the living room, biting back my seething rage. When I looked back to the screen, I saw Sonic running for the zone by himself. No Tails. I knew for a fact that my friend didn't reset the game and chose the Sonic only story, and I also knew for a fact that we were going for the true ending, so we needed Tails. Yet, despite us picking this option, he was nowhere to be found on the screen. I felt my rage coming back before silencing it once again. Besides this not so tiny factor and the remix music and the greenish color scheme, the game played like a normal one-player game. I sighed quietly, then guided my friend to the first ring under the cliff in the first part of the level. My friend got Sonic to spin dash into the rocks and jump into the magic ring. This is where it gets weird. The secret world was supposed to have a top-down view of Tails behind Sonic on top of a checkerboard, spherical 3D plane with even tinier blue and red spheres lining the plane. The mission in these secret stages is to collect all the blue spheres in order to get the Chaos Emeralds. Instead, we were taken to the Super Emerald Shrine. This shrine was only supposed to appear after you collected the first set of Chaos Emeralds, which makes sense, I guess. Sonic still had the first set of emeralds you were supposed to collect. Oh, look, we got in our picture. You can look at this real quick. Awesome. The shrine had its normal color scheme, dark and tall and dark pillars in the background that reflected bluish lights from their sides. The platforms that were supposed to hold the 7 super emeralds were bare except for 2 on the higher platform on either side of the shrine. Knuckles and Tails stood in the center under the green and master emeralds, as Sonic stood on the leftmost side of the shrine. Knuckles stared at Sonic as he did before, but Tails was facing away from Sonic and looking up at the empty platforms. Knuckles then turned to Tails for a few seconds before Tails decided to face Knuckles in return. After a beat, Knuckles nodded, then turned back to Sonic. Tails, after another beat, went to Sonic. Instead of standing close to Sonic, Tails had his back to Sonic and stood away from him at a distance. The cutscene ended, flashed white, and then transitioned to the special stage with the spears. We completed the stage, obtained one of the Super Emeralds, and then came back to Angel Island Zone. I internally winced, not out of fear, but out of confusion and slight irritation. Tails and Sonic were not together throughout the run, but Tails was still cold towards Sonic. Tails never stood in close tandem with Sonic, and he would always face away from Sonic. Even when I tried to correct his position, Tails would just move himself back at a distance and keep his back turned to the blue hedgehog instead of facing him. Alright, so right away, I think that in this hacked copy, either A, something's wrong with Sonic, this isn't the real Sonic, B, Sonic's possessed, or C, in this storyline, Sonic did something wrong to Tails, and now he's like upset at him for some unknown reason. An unsettling feeling poked at my stomach as I guided my friend throughout the level. It wasn't long before we came to the second secret ring location and jumped in. Again, we were taken to the shrine of the Super Master Emerald where Knuckles stood waiting again. After a few seconds, Knuckles faced away from Sonic and Tails before returning to the right side of the screen. Seconds later, another sprite appeared from that corner of the screen. A female with blonde hair, dark brown fur, and blue boots. It took me a moment to realize that this was Princess Sally Acorn. We can look at the picture. Tails looks like very sad here. Sally, she looks good. Sonic, he looks like, honestly, like he looks like angry, kind of. So does Knuckles. They both look angry, but then Tails looks sad. So maybe Sally did something? I blinked a few times and looked again to make sure. And I blinked a few times and looked again to be sure I wasn't seeing things. Sally didn't exist outside the Archie comic book universe, and she hasn't been blonde since issue 0 of the STH series. Regardless, she was inside the game and looked like she belonged there, as if the original makers of this game designed her sprite for the purpose of being a part of this game's story. And I mean everything, from the hair all the way down to the knee-high blue boots and her big blue eyes. I didn't know that Sally wasn't in this game, so that's why I didn't react to that. The very convincing Sally sprite then came up to Knuckles and stood very close to him. Sonic stepped forward, but Sally turned away. Sonic then tried to run forward, but Knuckles blew him back with a punching animation. Tails did absolutely nothing for his quote-unquote bro, but watch as Sonic receives Knuckles' blows. The scene ended again and put us back at the intended special stage. We finished it, got the emerald, and continued on to Angel Island. We got another picture here. Tails, he's like looking off to the side. Not Sonic's getting beaten up. Knuckles is beating him up, and Sally's just in the same position she was in before. So maybe I'm changing my mind here. I think that maybe Knuckles and Sally, something's wrong with them, or something's wrong with Sonic. Either something's wrong with Sally and Knuckles, and they're like evil now. This is like their evil counterparts. Or B, something's wrong with Sonic, and Knuckles knows about this, so he's trying to protect Sally. I don't know who's the bad guy yet. Sally is supposed to be Sonic's love interest in the Archie comic books, so why was she with Knuckles? Is this supposed to be canon to the comics? But Sally didn't have this color scheme when she met Knuckles in the stories. My friend and I looked to each other as I felt a chill race down my spine. At this point, we were both wondering what the hell was going on. I remembered the point to our hanging out and convinced him to shake off the occurrence. We ran through the level to eventually come upon another special ring and jumped into the special stage. We expected another weird cutscene with Knuckles and Sally. Instead, it played, quote-unquote, normally, albeit with remixed music and green hints around. The shrine was empty and prompted us to pick a super emerald to obtain, then sent us to the special stages. We cleared the stage, and then the corresponding super emerald returned to its place on the platform. Okay, so I just made a connection here. The story says that there's a lot of like green hints around. What's green? Disease. So I think maybe there's like a disease that's like corroding the earth, or I'm not sure if the Sonic world is Earth. I think it's Angel Island. We got another picture. Oh, Sally's in the robot suit, and Tails looks very dejected. Sonic looks surprised. Is that normal? I'm not too sure. That plant looks off. We continued through the zone until we got to the True Game's second cutscene. In this scene, one of Eggman's, or Robotnik's, whatever you prefer, bots sets the forest on fire. Instead, it was the Sally sprite in Eggman's ship that comes at the end of the level, just as the fire from the ship launched itself up in order to burn the island. A black screen flashed with the words, "Are you satisfied?" in white text. The message and black screen disappeared and led us back to the cutscene. The flames that enveloped the screen burned in a pixelated, sickly green color and slowed to an almost rhythmic dance and crawl before it froze. Likewise, the music halted to one long monotone note for what felt like hours. The combination of the colors and the unrelenting note set a feeling of sickness in my head and stomach that lasted as long as the sound buzzed throughout the apartment. The green flames slowly grew yellow in the center and continued to rouse in my stomach until I gagged. So it's like making them sick. Maybe I was onto something with like the green being like sickness. But this is really intriguing. Are you satisfied? So far, I do like this story. How it's like it starts off slow, some stuff is off, and then it slowly starts to build up a story. And then we have like the now someone's like wrong. Hey, is this supposed to happen? My friend asked, his relentless excitement now replaced with concern and confusion. Ooh, that's what the fire looks like. Ugh. Before I could answer him, the game unfroze itself and continued with the cutscene currently in play. The flames poured down the screen and revealed Angel Island under a pulsating green and yellow fire. As still distant Tails and standard disinterested Sonic stood waiting for us to continue the pursuit. So is Sonic and Tails like not burning? That's concerning. Hey, that rhymed. My friend took the controller and continued without waiting for my reply. He went straight ahead, asking me where the next special ring is. I debated the options in my head. Stop the game and stop any more potential surprises from coming up. Or keep this going and give in to the notorious plight of curiosity. I wonder if there's like something wrong with the friend. Or if they just decided to do this. Because like sometimes there's like there's sometimes in like creepypastas there's like an element where like they continue going even though they don't want to. So that might be something we have to put a pin in that. Keep it in mind for later. It was loyalty that won out over every raging emotion within me instead of clear logic. We continued our special ring pursuit in impatient silence. I could feel the hair rising from my skin. With each moment we progressed further and further into the stage. The green and yellow flames danced and waved in a way that made my head ache in the worst of ways. Okay, I think my screen's dirty because I thought the eye was messed up for a second. We're continuing now. Apologies for that. My friend sat with a great stillness and absolute reticness. Reticence. I haven't seen that word before. That's new. Interesting. As he navigated the stage and came upon the last ring, we needed to become hypersonic. With little to no hesitation, he jumped into the oversized ring, and the special stage commenced. Another black screen popped up with white writing. Was it worth it? Was she worth it? The screen flashed back to the special stage. We retrieved several blue orbs and tried to ignore the first message as the second one overtook the screen with another sudden flash. In the walls. We retrieved several more orbs under the floors. We got the last orbs, and the stage faded to a dark green and yellowish tone. The super emerald came toward us and grew very large, to the point where it enveloped the entire screen, leaving just a running Sonic and Tails and a large green emerald graphic. The screen cut to black before going to the score screen. I want to take a look at this picture real quick. So this is apparently what it looked like. That does not look normal. The usual white screen containing the scores and emeralds was now green, and the words that were supposed to say, "Now Sonic can be hypersonic," said, "The mighty will fall. The mighty will fall." Ooh, spooky. Is that what the emeralds are supposed to look like? They look off. Maybe like duller? Oh, we got two pictures for this one. The screen cut to black and then cut back to the shrine. The emeralds all appeared and glowed on their corresponding platforms. Below the emeralds was the blonde Sally sprite and a fallen Knuckles. Tails ran from Sonic's side and stood in front of Sally. Sonic, without any hesitation, spin dashed into Tails and threw him on the other side of the shrine. Sally backed away as Sonic prepared to spin dash into her before Knuckles got up and deflected him. Knuckles went to punch Sonic, but the screen cut to black again. The screen then cut back to the very beginning, Act 1 on Angel Island. So is it like resetting? Let's look at the pictures. So he spin dashes Tails, knocks him over. We'll go here. And then he's preparing to do it to Sally. But Knuckles is getting ready to... Tails looks dead, but Knuckles is getting ready to defend her. And then he punches him before he gets her. I've noticed that, like, Sally, like, except for in this one, she hasn't moved. What the hell is this? How did we get back to the beginning? I felt sick. Green and yellow colors were even heavier than before. My stomach churned. I just wanted to move on to the next zone as quickly as possible. Just go hypersonic so we can move on to Act 2, I said, cradling my head in my hands. I told him what buttons to press, and then a chiptune remix changed to standard music heard in the title screen. As Sonic turned from blue to a flashing rainbow color, I sighed in relief and watched as the double-image hypersonic flew for the stage with absolute ease, but that elated feeling of relief changed after mere seconds. Sally's image appeared in front of Sonic like a ghost, and with a sudden tap of her sprite, Sonic lost his multicolored shine and flew backward. His rings scattered across the stage like golden fireworks. The ring count on the upper left corner of the screen became 0, and the game's frame rate once again slowed to a crawl. The screen cut to black again just before Sonic touched the ground. You can't escape. The level reset once again, and we were back at the beginning. The level was now nothing but undulating, sickly green and yellow tones. The enemies were still. There was no music. Nothing but absolute silence. But honestly, I would have rather had that. I would have rather had that. I would have rather it remain like this for the rest of the game. The Sonic stood, still motionless, now looking down at the ground below him. Under him was not grass and dirt textures, but Sally, never-ending rows of sleeping, blonde Sallys lying in the ground and standing in the walls of the caves. Every time Sonic took a step, they stretched and bent their bodies and limbs as if in incredible agony. Each time Sonic jumped, they rolled and pulsed like the quivering sky. All of their sleeping heads faced the blue hedgehog. All the sprites tracked his every move and his every action. Okay, so we got another picture here. Ugh. Bunch of Sallys. Looks like they're in pain. Ouch. The black screen made another appearance and taunted us. Here lies Princess Sally Anderson. Her royal majesty now sleeps in the most unconventional of graves. What the hell? My friend exclaimed, his hands now limp and shaking. Is this some type of joke? Who the hell is Sally Anderson? What the hell is going on? I shook my head. He looked at me, asking me the same question, even going as far as to shake me. I threw his arms off me and crawled towards the Genesis. Wait, Yishai, what are you doing? I looked to him, my heart pounding, my hands shaking in cold sweat. What the hell do you think I'm doing? I'm turning this shit off before it gets worse. He put the controller down and took my hands, practically pulling me away from the system. He looked to the screen, the Genesis, then back to me and shook his head as if I didn't understand him. He did so again, this time mouthing with an accompanying no. My eyes grew wide. You really want to go on with this? I know this sounds crazy, but I want to see where this goes. He looked back to the screen. This is our last night together. Even if this is some mess up shit, I want to see how this thing ends. Allow me to readjust my headset. There we go. I just looked at him. In my mind, I questioned if loyalty was really worth all this. The feeling in the back of my head told me to stop, The sickness in the pit of my stomach was sick of negotiating and wanted some type of relief from this madness. In the end, though, it didn't matter. My friend picked up the controller once again and manipulated the lone Sonic to continue onward. The restless sallies made the stage move in ways it was never intended to. After a while, it seemed like they were reaching for him. The sallies wanted Sonic, and it was not because he was missed or loved. My skin prickled in agony. I fought back the bile that was rising to my mouth with this sickening curiosity, this wanting to see how the story ends was eating my health. We came to what should have been the end of the stage. In fear and curiosity, my friend and I watched as we came upon Knuckles and Tails and the other character sprites that shouldn't have been in the game. The Chaotix, Amy Rose, Cream and Cheese all stood staring at the ground. When my friend had control again, he pushed Sonic forward. All of the characters turned to Sonic. My friend pushed Sonic even further, passing the sprites in a slow walking fashion. Each and every sprite followed Sonic. After the last sprite was passed, black screen came again. You can look at the picture. There's Sonic. The Sallies are reaching for him. There's Cream, Cheese, Barry, I forgot his name, Amy, SBO, Leroy, I know it starts with an R, Ray, Tails, and Knuckles. Awesome. She was mine, you said. The scream went away, and Sonic was alone again. The sky stood still. The Sallies were stagnant. Sonic was pushed down a long path. The blue hedgehog began to gain speed and run down the path, continuing quickly to nowhere. He ran for seconds, then minutes, then those minutes turned into what felt like hours. Then Sonic was blown back again. As soon as he fell to the ground, the Sallies awoke again and took him by his feet. The Ghost Sally sprites stood before Sonic, just standing and staring. The Sallies from the ground pulled Sonic into the ground. Sonic's sprite began to make unfamiliar drowning animation. The the only standing Sally, walked up to Sonic. As soon as she touched him, the screen cut to black again. We can take a look at the picture. That's the drowning animation, and there's Ghost Sally. In the walls, the shrine appeared again. Sonic did a spin dash. Sally was in his path, trying to escape him. Under the floors, he dashed through Sally, and she flew backwards like Tails. In the walls, Sonic attacked Sally again. Under the floors, she fell to the floor. In the walls, Sonic dragged her away with another unfamiliar and strange animation. Under the floors, the Sallies from the ground finally got Sonic's sprite completely underground. Another unfamiliar animation of him dying played over and over until the screen froze. This time we waited and watched the screen. After another long beat of time, I sighed with relief and turned the system off. Epilogue. It's been a month. It's been a month since that whole ordeal happened. As soon as we turned off the game, I went to puke, took an Advil, then went onto a gaming forum that I'm a part of. My friend and I agreed that we should never play that game again until we're sure we have the right copies of the game. We also agreed that we should post up a basic and also detailed version of our experience on the gaming forum we were part of as a warning to nostalgia lovers like ourselves. And no, we didn't include the creepy parts. We wanted the article to seem serious and not like some weird story. However, recently I got a reply from that forum. It's from one of those users, the obnoxious usernames that are mixed with capital and lowercase letters and random numbers that were supposed to form a certain type of word. I opened up the forum post and read the reply with a neutral feeling, even if that's even possible. It was a standard reply like, wow, that sounds really weird, or whatever. The same user later sent me a friend request. I was suspicious at first. I checked his profile to find that he was a Sonic fan too. and actually made ROMs and certain hacked ROMs. I decided that it would be nice to have another Sonic the Hedgehog fan as a friend since my best friend was already overseas and suffering from a crappy internet connection. I added the annoying username to my friends and then they instantly began to PM me. The long short of the message was that the user told me my experience was a little strange, if not coincidental, because he once had S3 and SNK cartridges that he and her friends hacked a long time ago. For the sake of conversation, I prompted the user to tell me more about the story of the cartridges. Annoying username went on to tell me that the project was actually going to be a type of interactive fan fiction that included some of the RG Sonic characters. The story was that Sonic would be framed and everyone else would band together with Knuckles in order to keep the Master Emerald out of the hands of Robotnik/Eggman, while Sonic tried to clear his name. For whatever reason, I responded and told this user the full details of the content of the cartridges I ended up buying. They assured them that this, although oddly similar, was definitely not their cartridges. Weirdly enough, the user just abruptly stopped replying after I told the story. After a few moments of waiting, I figured they must have taken too long, and the user, wherever they may be in the world, had other things to do while they were waiting. It wasn't until another week went past I saw the user's reply. The user invited me to a chat room to talk. I logged into the room and waited. There were no other users available except for the user and me. I typed in a few lines and waited. I waited longer and longer and even longer until minutes turned into an hour and my very cold toes began to retaliate via numbness. When I didn't get a reply, I began typing up a message that said I was about to leave until I received a very, very scary reply. You have my cartridges. You have my cartridges and I want them back. Give me your address so I can pick them up. The hairs on the back of my neck stood erect, and a screaming voice in the back of my mind told me to leave the chat room at once and block the user as fast as I possibly could. I started to shake, not from cold, but from fear. I struggled to find my mouse on my desk with out of control fingers. The user replied again. You weren't meant to see what you saw. My friends ended up taking those cartridges after we fell out and stopped the project. They must have hacked them behind my back before returning them. They weren't meant to be sold to the stores. I sold the wrong copies. Give me your address so I can swap copies. I have the ones that aren't corrupt. I'll give them to you for free. Their replies were rapid, almost as if the person typing the messages were in a state of rising panic. They got progressively more aggressive with each reply. Hello? Hello? Are you there? Hurry up and give me your address. Give it to me. Give me your fucking address. I was frozen. I opened up a new tab and typed Sally Anderson into the search bar. I felt the color drain from every part of my body when I saw the results. In horror, I clicked on the first result and read the article over and over until each sentence burned into my mind. Sally Anderson is a registered missing person in the local papers. She hasn't been found for several years. The chat messages continued to ping loudly from my other tab. My body shook. My vision began to blur with welling tears. I went back to the chat room and saw a wall of replies by the user, frantically giving the same demand as before. I'm sorry for yelling. Seriously though, give me your address. I can explain everything. Just give me your address. Now, give me your address. Where do you live? Tell me where you fucking live. I felt cold sweat trickle down my neck as I typed in my reply. By this point, my whole body was filled from nerve to nerve with pure, unadulterated fear. I struggled to form the words, but the message manifested. Who is Sally Anderson? The user went silent again. The anticipation built up inside me and left a jittering, nervous wreck. And the anticipation built up inside me and left me a jittering, nervous wreck. I typed the question again and again and again and again until it was my replies that painted the chat room's walls. I stopped and my fingers became numb and I couldn't correctly spell any more words. I waited in silence, rocking back and forth for comfort in vain as the sun set and made my apartment dark and absolutely unbearable. After a while, only my computer screen lit the cold darkness that surrounded me. I could not leave my chair. I could not leave my place. I watched and waited for the user to give me their answer. The ping of the chat room echoed in my mind. I looked to the bottom at the user's very short, very simple reply. Sally Anderson is mine. I took my mouse and struggled to back out of chat to get back to my page. Unfriended blocked the user to the point where they couldn't even post replies on any of my open forum posts. I struggled to power down my computer only to fall out of my chair and knock my mug down with me. I reached my hand behind one of the legs of my desk and struggled for what felt like years to unplug my machine. I struggled to my feet, turned on all the lights, and paced for a long time between the kitchen and the living room, repeating the phrase in my mind that has haunted my thoughts since the moment I saw it. This phrase echoed in my mind throughout the late night. It echoed into the early morning and into the afternoon. In the walls. I couldn't sleep. Under the floors. I can't sleep. So today, after another week of fucking insomnia-induced paranoia, I decided to finally plug my computer back in and try to contact my friend in Europe. I checked my inbox to see many emails of the junk and unimportant variety except for one. The sender is unnamed, and the email is titled with the words, "Found you." I studied it for several minutes before finally opening it. I read the message slowly and out loud. I found you. I know you live in those mediocre fucking apartments off of Anderson Street. I know you work at that sad fucking excuse of a printing shop off of First Street in May. I know you go to Pauline's Coffee at 6 a.m. before you go to work and at 2 p.m. after you get off. I know you drink cappuccinos with heavy liquid creamer and extra sugar with free 6 cinnamon. I know that the car you drive is a blue 2000 Honda Civic with a large crack in the windshield. I know your plate number is AUK278 and that you have a little Tails bobblehead on the dashboard. I know you graduated from Thompson High School in 2011. I know where you go, when you go, what you do, and when you do it. No matter where you run, no matter where you hide, I will be right there, right around the corner. And then you'll join her. You'll join her, and then you'll be mine too. My already exhausted body goes numb. My tired yet wired mind whirs and crackles like the computer before me. I feel the pins prickle at my body. I feel the sickness poke at the pit of my stomach once more as I remember Sally's lying, moving, pulsing, and waving under the ground at the Angel Island zone. I lock the door, grab a kitchen knife, call the police, and after the call is finished, I go to my bedroom and shut the door. I sit on the floor in front of my bed where the two games had changed my life in all the wrong ways lie in a cold, quiet sleep. They lie sleeping as Sally does, in the walls, under the floors. That was awesome. ToadBup, yeah, I saw a story. I saw that you did a video on that, and that inspired me to read the original creepypasta for myself. It was pretty good. I like the imagery. I like the Sally thing. So what do I think about the story? I'm gonna look and see if there's any trivia, because usually the trivia helps with something. Fun fact, here's where I got Bloodshed Andrew Anderson's surname from. They are inside the walls. Awesome. In the walls, under the floors. I love that. Okay, well, Sonic is trying to break into my house via the boxes. So let's make this quick. Hacked cartridge. We can review through all these pictures. Oh, this is interesting. Who the heck? This is an oddity in itself. What the heck? Why is Chica here? Why is Foxy here? What is this? The Shadow Trio were trolls. Mario waved a sign in your face. Yoshi blocked doors. Tails blocked vents and cameras. They were just really annoying. Phantom Amy was going to be scrapped because we could not think of anything. The nightmare toys came from the vents and were just gimmick nightmares. Nightmare Tango was MM Classics NGs in the vents. GTS was never planned, but an idea went around that he would prevent mass camping. Nightmare Luigi Net was never planned. Clone Ray was never planned. Luigi and Net Nightmare worked like every other nightmare. Appeared at both doors, sometimes in the blah 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 blah. What's this? Oh, it's Faker. I remember he looked familiar. What's this? What is this? This is Sally? Oh, it's Tangy. Who are you? Is that Marge Simpson? No, it's Maddie, not Marge Simpson. What is this? Boxer and Alexandra Ring of Fire. There's Cream. She looks Cream the Antichrist. Oh no. Alice France. Okay, I'm pretty sure that these are OCs. So I'm gonna stop at Snafu 999. Couple of just summarily. Yeah, we're gonna stop there. But this creepypasta was pretty good. Thank you, ToadBup, for giving me the idea to go explore this creepypasta on my own. And then, anyways, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Maybe I'll make a second video on this to really analyze it. But anyways, peace out. Bye.